Joining us now to break this down a little bit further is former U.S. Air Force General and U.S. Military Deputy Representative to NATO, Blaine Holt, and retired Lieutenant Colonel who served 4 tours in Afghanistan. Joining us again, he's also the Executive Director of RestoreLiberty.org, Darin Gaub. Gentlemen, good morning. So nice to have you on. A historic morning. It doesn't feel that way. General, I'd like to begin with you if we could. Yesterday, the president did not address the American people. Now, he's scheduled to do so today at 1:30. But do you think that instead of this being, like we saw in 2003 with George W. Bush, mission accomplished, to me, this feels like mission over until next time?
Yeah, well, thanks for having us this morning. One of the things that I want to bring out right away is the last soldier has, in fact, not left Afghanistan.
Right.
We have veterans on the ground. They are soldiers, and they are very much there trying to get out anybody they can. And I applaud their efforts. I'm very, very grateful for the active duty forces and what they've been able to try to accomplish under the rules of engagement that they've had. But you make a good point about this notion of mission accomplished. And what I would stress to your viewers is very shortly, to protect our security situation in the world and to start to recover American credibility, we're going to have to enter into a period of accountability and integrity. And I would urge us all to have a national conversation about what that looks like in this war.
Colonel, how do we get the rest of Americans out? Lieutenant Colonel?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
yes.
okay.
How do we get the rest of Americans out? Yeah, that's not an easy question to answer. Unfortunately, right now, we are focused on having to support a lot of non-governmental organizations and retired special operators who are in country working both in Afghanistan and outside of Afghanistan. And without a determined decision from our Department of Defense and our government, those non-governmental organizations and really people acting upon their own as private citizens and retired military special operators are going to be the force that we need in order to get this mission truly accomplished, which is going to take a long time.
Yeah, you make up a great point there. And just looking at some of the mechanics, General, you just mentioned this. So let's say these Americans that are behind enemy lines that want to get out, despite the way that the Pentagon and the State Department tried to spin this yesterday, Antony Blinken as well, they have to drive between 8 and 10 hours to get to a border location. We have no idea how many Taliban or ISIS-K checkpoints they're going to have to go through. Antony Blinken yesterday said this now moves to the stage of a diplomatic standpoint. I think we have that soundbite, but I'm just curious. Well, let me play that for you, then we'll get some reaction just so we're on the same page. Take a listen.
A new chapter of America's engagement with Afghanistan has begun. It's one in which we will lead with our diplomacy. The military mission is over. A new diplomatic mission has begun.
So there it is. I'm just wondering, and Allison brought this up, but are we going to forget about this? The calendar page will flip to September 1st tomorrow. There are still a couple hundred people that are there in Afghanistan that want out.
Yeah, so I understand what Secretary Blinken's saying, but quite frankly, there's quite a few Americans who have different equities at play here. One of them is that the Taliban, certainly by their actions, are showing no signs that they are anything other than a ruthless enemy of this country and the other terrorist groups there. And so to the extent that there's some sort of diplomatic overture available to us, that would only be from a good read on the intel, but I can't see it from here. And what I can tell you is that that's not the only voice we're going to hear with respect to Afghanistan. I am reading what these veterans are doing right now and trying to get people out of there. And when you say it might be an 8-10 hour drive with these checkpoints, sometimes it might be a 3 or 4 hour or a 3 or 4 day movement just to get to another safe house. And we're determined. And so these are messages that just don't meet with reality on the ground, certainly not what I'm reading.
Yeah, Colonel, we heard General McKenzie say that, the Taliban were cooperative. Look, we were fighting them. They're responsible for a lot of murders. How are we as Americans supposed to feel safer now that we have troops out of Afghanistan, which we were there too, getting intel from a lot of Afghanistans? And how are we supposed to prevent terrorist attacks now that we're gone?
Yeah, that's a big concern. The question will always be, will Afghanistan quickly return back to what it was over 20 years ago as a staging base for terrorist operations, not only here in the United States, but really throughout the world? we should be concerned about that happening. The Taliban is not a legitimate governing body. They are a terrorist group in coordination with others from all the intelligence we're receiving. And as these people work together, have an entire country to operate from, and have some significant funding sources from outside of their boundaries, their ability to reach globally is going to increase.
Colonel, just a quick follow, about 15 seconds. But do you think, we're coming up on we're 12 days away from the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. Do you think that when people like George W. Bush, who we haven't heard from recently, the former Vice President Dick Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld, the former Secretary of Defense, were drawing up getting into Afghanistan, they thought that 20 years later we'd give it back to the Taliban?
I don't know for sure if they were saying those specific words. I seriously doubt they were thinking that, but we do have sources that are telling us that, or who were with Secretary Rumsfeld when the Afghanistan war kicked off, that this was going to be a generational war. Yeah. And they were clear. He was clearly right about that.
And Dick Cheney, he thought we'd be there maybe indefinitely. It turns out to be 20 years. Gentlemen, thank you so much. General Blaine, Holt, and Colonel Darin Gaub, thanks so much for your service and your insight this morning. We appreciate it. We'll see you a little bit later in the show. Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.